Hi, everyone. Mitch from PickDogs.com here with Ron and Chris here with week 9 college football. Hard to believe we are already at week 9, but we are. It comes and goes, just like that. It's quick, right? It's just it's here today, gone tomorrow. That's what they say. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm excited. It's great college football weekend ahead. I've already zoned in on a few games I really like, but like you said, you blink, and I remember we were just doing our prep for week 1, and now all of a sudden we're 9 weeks into the season. We're almost looking at conference championship games in about a month. So yeah, it's absolutely flying by.
College hoops starts in about a week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ron, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I think college football schedule-wise is the shortest season out of all the sports, but it just seems to go really fast. And anyway, I mean, already in week 9, we only got a few weeks left of the regular season, but I like how they spread out the bowl games over a month. I like that there's a few bowl games here every day usually. So, and I think yesterday was the last. I read yesterday was the last day for the next 28 days that we would have no football games on any specific day because we got action coming up. So a lot of football action, both in the NFL and college football.
Nice. And, the thing is that, that what they get the bowls going fast, and then, it's only going to be expanded, going forward. A lot of bowls that have been canceled in recent years are going to be back in action.
Yeah.
The Fenway Bowl and stuff like that we haven't really seen yet. So I'm excited to see those. And, other things to consider, Army Navy was never on its own day before in the past. And it's like, I still don't understand why it is now, but maybe they'll fix that. Anyways, Chris, well, we already talked to you. So we'll just move on to the games.
That's enough, Chris.
We'll do the weekday games that we have this week. Southern Miss, UL Lafayette, NC State, Virginia Tech, Washington State, Utah, FIU, Florida International University, against La Tech, and BYU, ECU. BYU plays USF and ECU. A lot of schools that kind of just go by their thing. Ron, what do you think of these games?
Yeah, I don't love this Thursday card in college. No premiums for me. But the game that I would the game I like the most is Southern Miss plus the 1.5 points. I just think it's going to be a real close game. I think you're having the home team. You're only getting a 1.5, so you basically got to win the game outright. But the home team, Southern Miss has played pretty well at home. Their defense has been real strong this season, both against the pass and against the run, and they get a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. I think the big thing is it's an inexperienced offensive line for Louisiana, but they've held up pretty well. It's pretty surprising because I figured they were going to have some struggles, but overall the offensive line's held up. But I think Southern Miss just too many playmakers defensively. Now they do have big issues turning the ball over. They're usually a -2, -1 in the turnover differential each game. The quarterback play has been dicey for Southern Miss, but I think they do enough. I think they give the ball to Frank Gore Jr. 20 plus times in this one. I think it's enough for a win.
Yeah, the athletic director at ULL has a hard on for us, so we're kind of on the other side as often as possible. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I got one for today, one for tomorrow. The one I like for today, I'm with Ron. I like Southern Miss. Chandler Fields, quarterback for ULL, supposed to be coming back, but I think him coming back is more of a detriment than it is an asset to the Cajuns. Ben Woldridge has been playing really well in his absence, and has arguably been the reason that the Cajuns have had as much success as they have. But I think Fields coming in is a bit of a downgrade, and I like the way that USM matches up in this one, so I'm going to take Southern Miss plus the 1.5. I'm also going to take East Carolina plus the 3.5 against BYU. I visited Ron's Mount Rushmore and saw the Holt Nailers statue, and I'm gonna go with Holt Nailers here. This BYU pass defense has been dreadful, and I think that East Carolina can have some success. A win here would clinch bowl eligibility for the Pirates. The Cougars have just fallen off a map lately, so I'm gonna take East Carolina, get 3.5 in that one.
So when the athletic director from ULL calls us out, does it make you more want to go against them, or do you have a little bit more respect that at least they care?
I'm actively looking to fade ULL as many chances as I can get. Not just college football. We're not letting them off the hook when college hoops comes around. Don't worry. We'll be going after the Cajuns in college hoops as well.
You think that Billy Napier, like, this is part of the reason he left? He's just like,
I think it's probably the sole reason he left.
He's like, I'm leaving Lafayette. UL Lafayette. So out of there.
Breaking news, by the way, in the NFL, Kadarius Toney traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 3rd round and 6th round pick.
Interesting. Because he really is a tremendous playmaker when he plays.
Yeah, what a nightmare for the Giants. 1st round pick gone for a 3rd and a 6th.
But, you know, here's a guy that never plays.
Nope.
I mean, he never plays. Be interesting to see if he plays in Kansas.
Yeah, he'll be a superstar with Patrick Mahomes.
Well, seems like everybody is. Even Juju Smith-Schuster is, you know,
revitalized.
Yep, trade deadline is nearing.
Yep.
I like Southern Miss here as well. Frank Gore Jr., I think you just give him the rock all night long. I like the under in Virginia Tech against NC State. I don't think Virginia Tech's going to score a point in that game. And I like BYU against ECU. I think they're just bigger up front. I think you'll see it in that game. BYU has played a much tougher schedule, much tougher. And, you know, I just think that at home in the altitude at night, bad spot. Go to Saturday noon. UConn BC in a regional rivalry. Iowa State, Oklahoma. Somehow Oklahoma actually favored in a football game for some reason. West Virginia, TCU, Penn State, Ohio State, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Houston, USF, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Auburn, Arkansas, Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Akron, Miami of Ohio, Virginia, Miami, Rice. Oh, no, that's it. We'll just go there. Ron, what do you think?
You know, I'm looking at Penn State here, getting the over 2 touchdowns against Ohio State. You know, Mitch mentioned last week, Ohio State's a little bit overrated. Now, obviously, they covered the spread, but last week, but I don't think that they performed that well, especially on offense. I'm only 360 yards. They couldn't really run the football on Iowa. Iowa's offensive issues really hurt them in that game in terms of finding a cover. But, Penn State has had a very tough strength of schedule. They've already been at Auburn, at Purdue, at Michigan. And this is a tough place to play. And, you know, coming off that big-time win over Minnesota, Penn State's secondary is strong. They're very good against the run. Their offensive line's held up all season long. They can run the football themselves. And I like Sean Clifford at quarterback. So I think Penn State can hang around in this game. And I don't think an outright upset will be in this one. But I still think Penn State can be within those 2 touchdowns. So I'll take the 15.5 points with the Nittany Lions. And then I like Iowa State plus the 1.5. I'll just take them on the money line against Oklahoma. Mitch mentioned, I don't know how Oklahoma's favored, especially on the road. And, I think underdogs are pretty live in the Big 12 this season. A lot of inconsistencies with a lot of these teams. And the big thing for me is Oklahoma's secondary, one of the worst in the conference, really one of the worst in the country. And yes, I don't love Hunter Dekkers at quarterback, but he's got a very, very good playmaking receiver in Xavier Hutchinson, who can win a game himself. I mean, this guy should be targeted 15 plus times a night, and he usually gets 10 plus receptions a night. So I think if they, heavy dosage of Xavier Hutchinson could be enough for Hawkeyes or Cyclones win. And I think the defense for Iowa State, definitely not the issue there. One of the best defenses and really in the country, but I'll take Iowa State on the money line.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to be on the other side of that Ohio State game. I missed the boat on Ohio State last week. I took them off my list. I'm not doing it again. Even if they didn't look great, it still didn't matter. They won that game by 44 points, and I haven't been impressed with Penn State. At home this season in terms of scheduling. Yeah, they beat up on Minnesota. Okay, great, but then you look Northwestern, Central Mich, and Ohio. For me, not necessarily the toughest of schedules in the road schedule. Yeah, I'll give them credit for doing what they did against Michigan. But again, that Auburn beat down, the way that Auburn's looked this season, I'm not giving them a whole ton of credit this season. That is not a very good Auburn team. So, I think that Penn State's overmatched here. I think, Penn State has been a bit of a tripping point for Ohio State in the past. But for me, it's just been that the Buckeyes have been taking no prisoners. I think they do it again here. I'm going to go with Ohio State in a beatdown. I'm also going to go with Notre Dame plus the points against Syracuse. I just think this is a letdown spot for Syracuse after such a big win. Notre Dame usually steps up and rises to the occasion, and they have, a lot of trends pointing, in their direction here. I'm just trying to pull them up here, but I just think it's a letdown for Syracuse in this one. Notre Dame probably deserves a little bit better, but again, I'm not rushing to the window for that one just yet. And I like UConn plus the 7.5 against Boston College. There's no sense in me laying over a touchdown with Boston College on the road. They scored 12 points per game in their last 2 road games. And UConn starting to play with a little bit of confidence. I think at worst they keep this one within a touchdown if they don't win this game outright. So I like UConn plus the point.
You are a fool, Ruffalo. I'm taking Penn State here. I think got a good shot at the money line on this one. I thought that Iowa certainly gave them all that they could handle last week. And I think, Ron's yardage stat, I'm a little less on that one because Ohio State started 7 drives inside the Iowa 40 in that game. And eventually the defense broke down. And that was the difference. They were within the cover zone almost the whole game. It was the pick sixes that actually ended up being their undoing in that one.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, I know, but I meant the yardage number, though. It was mostly because the Iowa offense was giving the ball inside their own 50.
Well, yeah, I said the offense was giving them the best. The Iowa offense was Ohio State's best offense. I mean, Ohio State didn't run the football.
Either way, Ruffalo is a fool.
Yeah, You're both fools in that division.
You had your turn to talk, Ruffalo.
It's okay.
We'll use our time for personal put downs.
I'm backing down.
Penn State money line. That's it. Penn State money line.
I will use all 6 minutes of my allocated time. It's Notre Dame, Syracuse, one of those games you got to just watch out for. Syracuse clearly the way better team in this one, but Notre Dame has a way of getting calls, especially in these ACC games where, they 5-0 against the ACC against the number. Syracuse has gotten a lot of really good calls this season, so be interesting. This is a weird one because you have the New York TV market game is what this is. New York, either you're a Notre Dame fan or a Syracuse fan, and I don't know. I think it's going to be whichever. Well, Notre Dame probably has the bigger endorsements, so. But the game will not be on NBC, so be interesting. I like Georgia Tech plus the points against Florida State. I know Georgia Tech's on their backup quarterback at this point, but Florida State, I just think a little bit overrated at this point. I like Iowa State against Oklahoma as well. I like Auburn against Arkansas on the Plains. I think Arkansas's defense is straight ass, and I think Auburn keeps it close. Auburn really hasn't been that terrible. They really haven't. I think that the expectation is so high there that makes it look that. Eastern Michigan is a dog, always in my house. We'll take them. They make it easy when they're getting points for us. But that one's dropped from 8.5 to 6.5. I still like it. I think they have usually a chance to win outright if they're a dog. We go to our next slide. Miami, I don't trust these guys at all, but I'm not concerned as a Kane fan one bit about this team.
Crystal Ball's
I think every coach that has taken over a team this year as a replacement for another coach is you're behind the 8 ball in today's college football because from Napier, Florida, Cristobal, everybody, Freeman, Notre Dame, all of them, because the transfer portal, the players already have the wheels in motion when the coach goes to leave. They already have the wheels in motion. They were leaving anyway. And it's like, now you have no control over who's staying and who's going. So you could lose like 8 offensive linemen and keep 5 tight ends. I mean, you don't know what you're going to be left, what hand you're going to be dealt. And I think when we look back at Jimmy Johnson's first year at Miami, which is a good point of reference here, who was a lot less popular hire than Mario Cristobal. That's for damn sure. It was like, who is this guy? It's like, well, this is the guy that recruited Barry Sanders. Maybe we might want him. It's like, all right, we'll give him a chance. But that first year at Miami, 38-3 loss against Florida State. They lost their last 3 games of the year, giving up over 45 points in each of those games, including the Flutie game. They lost in a game against Maryland that they were up 31-0 at halftime, and Frank Reich beat them. Same Frank Reich that engineered the comeback against the Houston Oilers in the playoffs. Same Frank Reich that's that Colts, that freaking coach. Same guy. So I'm not concerned about this Canes team, and I think that Cristobal, when he's able to put the pieces in place, they're going to be fine. But right now, the pass defense is just a sieve, just like it was that year, just like it was exactly in that Jimmy Johnson year. But there's a lot of positives here too. I think we have some overrated quarterbacks, but we actually have a guy coming in who's like one of the top-rated quarterbacks. So go Canes. Could be worse. Rice against Charlotte. Ooh. Charlotte getting their ass handed to them by FIU last week.
that was ugly.
That was ugly. I gave out FIU money line on the show. Jerry Richardson Stadium, just not a tough building for visitors.
It was at one point, but
not
Will
recently.
Healy's out now.
Not recently.
They play a Club Lit when they win, but yeah.
Got Minnesota against Rutgers. These two teams both. Minnesota's on. I think they're off the losing streak finally. 3-game losing streak. I think they won last week.
Who, Minnesota or Rutgers?
I think Minnesota did, didn't they?
They lost to Penn State.
Oh, so Rutgers is off the losing streak.
Yeah.
Losing streak. Georgia State versus Old Dominion. No relation to New Dominion. Nebraska versus Illinois. That one loss at Indiana and looming now. Big. They would be a playoff contender if it wasn't for that one loss in Indiana on the shit called day of the night.
Oh, come on. We're still talking about that. Week 0.
That was awful.
No, it wasn't.
That was terrible. He caught that touchdown twice.
No. Yep. Easy cover. Indiana. Go Hoosiers.
Yeah, okay.
Tulsa versus SMU. App State. Oh, they're playing Robert Morris. UMass at home. UMass has been playing a lot of home games recently.
Where's UMass?
New Mexico State.
Least favorite segment of the show.
Got the cocktail party. Georgia 22.5-point favorites over the Gators in a rivalry game that's never close. It's one way or the other, but it is a rivalry that's never a close game. Never comes down to the last play or overtime or anything. It's always a blowout. Louisville versus Wake, but Florida could be the blowout. I mean, it's sometimes the team with the worst record does it there. It's usually Florida. Louisville versus Wake. They're talking Wake as a possible outside playoff team right now. At least the New Year's Day Bowl team. UCF versus Cincinnati, another team they're talking about New Year's Day Bowl. That one game could be for it. Navy versus Temple. Western Kentucky versus North Texas, directional game. Cal versus Oregon. Iowa versus Northwestern. Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Quietly a big game here. Ron, got the usual 3:30 smorgasbord there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got that Florida-Georgia game. Like Mitch mentioned, the game's usually never close. And in fact, since 2013, there hasn't been a game that's been decided by one score. All those games decided by more than one field goal or touchdown. And the last one was 23-20 in 2013. So I think this is going to be another blowout. I just don't love this Gator team, especially matching up against this Georgia defense. Florida's defense this season, one of the worst we've seen in quite some time from Florida. The secondary is not great. They don't really stop the run much. And I do think Georgia will have a field day offensively. But the big thing is Florida's been able to score. They scored 31 points per game. They run 6.4 yards per carry. But against this Georgia defense, I just don't see it, at least not on a consistent basis. So I'm going to lay the over 3 touchdowns with the Georgia Bulldogs in a rivalry game there. We got the Where's UMass segment here. Where's UMass? They're playing at home, and they're playing a team in an FBS. So I think they actually have a fighting chance against. I'm going to take UMass money line, baby. They're getting 2.5 points. Give me the money line. New Mexico State, I don't think should be favored on the road in any spot against any FBS team. They played well at home this season, but their road games 38-0 at Minnesota, 20-13 against the UTEP team on the road that was really struggling at that point, and then 66-7 at Wisconsin. This is not even the best Wisconsin team we've seen, so I don't like this road team, New Mexico State. Give me the UMass Minutemen on the money line.
Yeah, there's a couple I like in this time, so I'll go back to the Illinois-Nebraska game. I think you gotta go with the under in that one. Anytime you see Illinois on the board, especially against Nebraska, you got to consider maybe taking the under there. Illinois' defense is legit, and I just don't know if Nebraska's going to have the answers. But this, to me, just feels like an ugly, like 17-10 kind of game. So I'm going to go with the under Illinois-Nebraska. And also going to take Wake Forest laying the 3.5 on the road at Louisville. Louisville, they're playing fairly well as of late, but this is a very inconsistent team in terms of what to expect from them. Some days they look like one of the best teams in the ACC offensively, and then they also have games where they go out and lose to Boston College and give up 34 points. And Wake Forest, for me, just a far more consistent team. I like Sam Hartman. Obviously, he's on my Mount Rushmore. Bring out your binoculars, go see the sights there. I got to go with Wake Forest in that one. And I'm gonna go with UCF laying the 1.5 at home against Cincinnati. I just think Cincinnati a little bit lucky to be where they are right now. I know they're 6-1. They have played well. They're 2-4-1 against the spread. I think UCF, after the loss last week, comes back to the bounce house. It's going to be rocking. It's a big game. I think UCF gets it done at home.
I like Northwestern plus the points against Iowa. Same thing I say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every single week on our Sunday show. If to cover a 10.5 point spread, you have to be able to score 10.5 points, and Iowa can't do that. So not going to happen for them in this game. I think Cincinnati takes out UCF. I think they're getting a little disrespected here by this number. And I've been on UCF a ton this year, but I just think Cincinnati kind of bigger in the big games. And I think that, UCF, the quarterback play, if he's forced to have to throw the football, I mean, he's dead man against the Cincinnati defense. I think that they're super effective running the football, but I wouldn't trust Plumlee to throw the football no more than I would trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I normally would take Florida in this spot against Georgia, but this team is just really not good enough. I think the quarterback play makes it so what you see in this game a lot is defensive touchdowns, and I think we're going to see some here. So I will take the defensive touchdown prop if it's out there on that one. I like Wake Forest against Louisville. I would lay the extended on this thing. Louisville is not a good team at all. I like Illinois against Nebraska minus 165 points in that one. Lay the extended on that as well. Nebraska's terrible. Illinois just really has taken it to a whole new level this year. Brett Bielema could be the college coach of the year. I think in college, in NFL, Giants, looking coach of the year, college, it's got to be Bielema at Illinois for what he's done there.
It's definitely not Cristobal.
Or Billy Napier.
You can't take shots at you. Try to go back at me with Gator slander, and I don't really care.
Well, you are matriculating.
If you talk about UMass, maybe I'll be offended.
You're a matriculating student. You can't dodge teams. It's just Rod dissed my Oilers yesterday. And, they came back and, now he wants back on the bandwagon, showing me he's got his shirt in the bag and stuff. It's it's too late, man. It's like he's humping
We've
up.
already filled your spot.
Yeah, it's like we already filled your spot, man. It's like Bennington. Beat him up. They were tip-ins. They count the same.
They don't ask how, they ask how many.
Exactly. And it's 3-1.
Are you at all concerned though about going back to that Georgia game about a potential look ahead because they got Tennessee on deck?
Absolutely not. In college, you don't get in the cocktail party. There's going to be a look ahead spot. No. I don't think so. I think that you sound like Bitler. It's like no, it doesn't. How could the cocktail party? Trust me on this one. Both these teams, I think Georgia is excited about competing for national championships and SEC championships, and Florida would be if they were in that spot. But they care more about this game than any of that stuff. This is the game. It's like they could go if Florida goes 1-10, 1-11. and this is their one win,
Oh yeah,
it'd be okay. It'd be fine. And Georgia, I think, is the same way. I mean, the game is played equidistant from each campus. It's in Jacksonville. It's neutral site. It's always in Jacksonville. And you look at the stadium, it's straight down the middle. Yeah, this is real college football. This game. This isn't, there's no look ahead. It's like, you think Michigan's looking past Michigan State on, get to that one. It's like no chance, zero chance of that happening. Kansas State, I like over Oklahoma State. They're just shifty. I like South Alabama. Oh, I didn't get to that one. South Alabama, Arkansas State, South Carolina, Missouri. Gamecocks that got it done last week against the Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher could be fired there. I mean, he could be. Now that he's starting to lose the players from that recruiting class already, maybe it's like it makes it easier to eat that $100 million that contract. Boise now 27.5-point favorites against Colorado State on the blue turf. Don't adjust your set. The field is blue. Marshall versus Coastal Carolina. Marshall 2.5-point favorites. Another one of those weird ones. FAU versus UAB in Boca. Arizona versus USC. Pac-12 network. Tennessee versus UK. This is the trap game. Is this one, Ruffalo? Not the other one. This is the trap game right here. Yeah, the dogs are barking.
yeah.
This is the one. This is the one right here. Colorado against Arizona State. Yeah, I might take Colorado for the first time all season. Not going to happen. Michigan State, Texas Tech, Baylor, Texas A&M, Ole Miss. He's still mad about that, about that Tennessee Kentucky game. North Carolina Pitt, UTEP, Middle Tennessee State, Fresno, San Diego State, San Jose State. The big Al McMorty dead player angle in that one. And UCLA, Stanford, and Hawaii, Wyoming. The dead player angle is super strong, but it's a big number. Ron?
Yeah, I'm looking at a few games in this time slot. I'm looking for Michigan to blow out Michigan State. I think this is a mismatch this year.
Now, do you know the Michigan cheer? The Michigan State cheer?
I know the Michigan State cheer.
So
yeah,
this is the game.
Michigan State.
There it is.
UMass, UMass. I don't know what they do in UMass, but it's certainly not win football games. But Michigan and Michigan State, Michigan, just a way better team, and it's just all facets of the game. When it comes to running the football, passing the football, offensive line play, defensive line play, secondary, you name it, Michigan's much better, and I think they just take out their frustrations on their little brother, in my opinion, and the rival. This is also a revenge game from last year as Michigan lost to Michigan State on the road. So I like the Wolverines big there. I also like the Boise State Broncos laying the points. And it's almost 4 touchdowns with Boise State, but Colorado State, just their offense, especially their quarterback play. Oh, I don't know how they're going to score a point here. And yes, Avery Morrow's kind of emerged as this new running back for Colorado State out of nowhere. I mean, he was like the 4th on the depth chart to start the season at running back, but he's had over 100 yards rushing the last 3 weeks. But against this Boise State defense that's so good against the run, I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, Boise State played Air Force, an option team last week, held them to 175 rushing yards. And if 4 of the last 6 weeks, they've held their opponents to under 100 rushing yards in the game. Give me the Boise State Broncos. I think their defense leads them to a big-time win and cover. And I'm also going to take a shot with what was the one I circled? Texas Tech laying the points against Baylor. I think Baylor's a little overrated. I think Texas Tech's a little underrated. I actually like this Red Raiders team. I think defensively they've really improved this season. This is not a team known for defense at all. You can just look at their last few years' numbers, giving up 30-plus points a game. And we're used to seeing that from Big 12 teams. But the defense has improved quite a bit, especially against the pass. And the offense, I like their quarterback play from Donovan Smith. And even when he's been out due to injury, the backup play has been solid. They run the football pretty well. And I think they get a win here at home. So give me the Red Raiders.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to take Kentucky plus the points in that game against Tennessee. I just think that, you mentioned if there is a trap game, it's probably this one that's closer to the 2 that to have the favorite fall in. But I just don't think that Tennessee's used to playing in these high pressure situations. They want to make sure that next week's game against Georgia means something in terms of the SEC West race. So I think it's just about winning the game, not necessarily about style points for Tennessee here. And Kentucky does have the offense to at least keep it fairly close. Chris Rodriguez at running back, Will Levis looking a little bit more confident at quarterback for Kentucky. So I'll go with Kentucky plus the points. I think it's maybe a 7 to 10 point win for Tennessee. And I'm also going to go with UCLA laying the big number against Stanford. Stanford, you're not going to win many games. I know they've won back-to-back games scoring 16 points or less. That's not going to work against UCLA. I think UCLA is just a far better team. They want to get last week's loss to Oregon, get the bad taste out of their mouths with that one. So I think Stanford, a perfect opponent for that. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going to take the points with Michigan State. I know they're probably going to get blown out, but yeah, I'm not giving up.
How do you say they're probably going to get blown out?
but by 3 touchdowns. I don't see 22 and a half. I could see 38. I could see 38-17, something like that.
You're giving yourself a point of wiggle room. Not much wiggle room.
Again, they don't ask how. They ask how many. If you cover by 1.5, it doesn't. It doesn't matter to me as long as they get in the back door. They had a week to get healthy. They had the bye week. Peyton Thorne. Yeah, he's not my favorite quarterback in college football, but if there's one thing that Michigan State,
that would be Sam Hartman.
Yes, that would be Sam Hartman. But if there's one thing that Michigan State can at least do fairly well, they're top 20 in terms of defensive rush success rate. You can at least try to hold Blake Corum down. They're not going to. He's going to get 150 yards. But I just think that this is too many points. I think Michigan wins by 3 touchdowns, but no more than that. I'm taking Michigan State plus the points.
You're foolish and lack vision.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time that I heard it and was right. So
taking San Jose State over Nevada, dead player angle. It's like,
jeez,
it's a killer.
Yeah, I know.
It's killer. I like Pitt to just bludgeon UNC in that one. I like Arizona State against Colorado and anybody else that's playing Colorado. I like Kentucky, Michigan State, USC. Oh no, I'll take
Michigan
Arizona.
State.
I'll take Arizona at home.
Why do you like Michigan State?
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to see who Brian Bittler's on. So you take the other side.
Well, you got to tell me. Me and Ruffalo debated. They're the tie-breaking vote. Yeah.
Because we've seen Harbaugh get conservative late in games, and that's why they haven't been covering recently. They haven't been a great cover team, Michigan.
But against their big rival, revenge spot?
I don't think they care.
I don't think they care. All right.
Jim Harbaugh is not that type of guy.
Michigan.
State.
Michigan.
State.
I don't think I'll have a premium on that game, that's for sure. But I do like Ole Miss against Texas A&M. I've picked against Texas A&M every game this season. And I'll continue to pick against them. Hate Jimbo Fisher. Reminds me of a drunk redneck uncle.
Gosh darn it, Uncle Jimbo.
Yeah, he does, man.
Put down the moonshine.
I don't know. I think it reminds me of a uncle that's kind of gotten his alcohol under control now.
I'll tell you. When I was like in college, I'd come home from college and go out drinking, and we'd always run into Dennis Erickson over at Fox's across the street from University of Miami. It's just a bar called Fox's. Dennis Erickson would just be like bellied up to the bar all night. Pretty much. 2 national championships. It's 2 more than Jim Harbaugh has. As a player or coach. Yeah. And I like Penn State. All right. Anything that we left out for today's show? You guys would like to go back and cover? Any comments about Ruffalo's picks? Anything else?
I think me and Ruffalo are going head to head here this week. We'll have to see what the premiums look like as well.
There'll be a line drawn in the sand.
Yeah. I like it that way.
I like going head to head with Bittler. I miss him. All right. I guess that's it. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Make it a winning day.